Hump Day. That's this Wednesday. That's today and that's now. And this is LinkedIn Live. And today we're talking about stealing, like clipping, taking, using prompts, chat GPT prompts. Because what I didn't know, but our guest has known for quite a while, is that the currency of your expertise in chat GPT is predicated off of the kinds of prompts that you use. So I brought in, oh, I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. Look at this. This is Chris Black. Chris Black is somebody that I met through the Chief Network. And when she started explaining about Chat GPT, I was like on the horn. I was like, Chris, come on, get on the show. So Chris, please introduce yourself. And most importantly, what I would like you to share is some of the intel that you shared with me pre-show about how long you've been dabbling in this technology.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with Lauren, and it's such an important topic. I've been using ChatGPT in all kinds of crazy ways, probably for at least 4, maybe 5 months. My background is I'm a marketer that is really focused in early stage tech startups, specifically B2B. I've been within the pharma and health tech space for a while, but currently I'm with Origin AI, and they're a company that's using AI within wireless waves to help determine what's going on within our house to keep us safe and to help keep us healthy. So that part might be a story for another day, but I have been playing with AI for a long time. Now, chat AI specifically has been around for years, and a lot of folks think that it's brand new with OpenAI. The reality is that we've been playing with this technology for a long time, and certain companies like my previous employer, Sama Technologies, we were using chat to help pull reports and analytics out of data so that someone that's running a clinical trial could ask the chat, what's going on with my trial? Is it on track? Where is it failing? And have a report delivered to it. And that's really what OpenAI has done, is they've expanded that to a much larger market so that all of us mere mortals can actually go and ask it basic questions.
Okay. So I know you're like a data freak and I'm like a quasi data freak. You say a long time. Let's put some specificity around that. Like, what's a long time? How long has this thing been operating? Because to like the lay people, myself included, it looks like crash burn. Like all of a sudden this like came as this eureka moment. So it's been around for approximately
4, maybe 5 years. So we were doing it at Sama 4 and 5 years ago, but Google had that virtual assistant and
Sure.
we could ask it to do things. And that was back then as well. I just don't think it was very popular back then. OpenAI
Sure.
just gave us a nicer format, I think, to play with it.
Okay. So this is important because the way that we understand it today is that OpenAI is like the Mac Daddy. They are the ones that have created this friendlier interface for us to all be using. And so what I want to move this conversation to is understanding the value of prompts, because again, this is cracking open a whole new usage. It's not like we've all grown up doing this, although you have. So tell us why and what we should know, like the 101, like I'm going to raise my hand for morons only, right? That we need to know about prompts.
Well, and I would definitely say not morons only. I would say people that haven't gotten to play with this yet, which is probably most of us. So the first thing to understand is that
This is working out right now, so we're gonna be able to give you some prompt wisdom for downloads. Yes, thank you for that. I love that.
absolutely.
Good for you.
So the first thing to understand is that this is called a natural language understanding engine. It is not actually understanding the words that we put in. It understands how words get put together. So it's been trained on words. So if we ask it a question, it doesn't understand the question, but it understands how these words are put together. That's important when we construct prompts because you want to be very careful and intentional about those words. You also want to train it. You've probably heard about training AI. In the case of a job hunt, I actually would put in my resume or the first half of my resume so that it trains on what it is that I do. Now I can then ask it to do all kinds of different things, but I do need to train it there at the top. Now it'll remember some of what we've said up to, a certain number of characters, but it's now been trained on our voice, it's been trained on what we do. So then when we ask questions, it has some basis for understanding.
And how long does it hold what we've trained? Like,
As long
is it like a dog that once it's trained, it's like it's good to go, it's not going to poop in the house? Or is it like something that I need to train regularly
each
every
chat,
session?
yeah, so each chat is independent. What I like about OpenAI is you can save your chats. And so I can save multiple trainings. So if I'm marketing, I have clients. So I have a trained chat per client. I have a trained
Ooh.
chat for my job hunt.
So are all the trained chats in the queue?
Yeah, there's a left-hand window and you can
Right.
see all of the history of your chats. Now it only
So that
remembers
means that they're going to hold on to the training as long as it's sitting in the queue.
Exactly.
Oh.
It doesn't remember cross chats. So only
Each
within
unique chat. Okay.
each unique chat.
Okay. This is awesome. I love that. Okay. So as Erica said, hello, Erica. Your results are only as good as your prompts and iterations, right?
Sure.
This is really good. And Jim said trained chat per client. That's a good idea. Ooh, and then also I noticed it is learning my style. Awesome. And hello, Rachel. Love some good data love. We all know that bad data in, bad analysis, recommendations out. What's the risk as Chat GPT is pulling such a huge, unmanaged, audited data?
And it's
Yikes.
So it's important to remember that ChatGPT specifically has only been trained through September of 2021. So new data, nope, it's not there. It hasn't been trained on it. Now, we all remember Bing probably. You probably saw some great news about how Bing made people very sad of your wife doesn't love you. No one can love you as much as I love you. That's what happens when you don't put guardrails in on that training. And so I suspect that Microsoft trained across the whole internet. Now, OpenAI had given it some guardrails. It's not cussing, it's not abusive, right?
Ooh.
So it's very specifically trained, but given some guardrails around what it
AI slut. I can't say that.
Now, in Bing, apparently you can, but not in OpenAI.
Okay, good.
But it's also interesting that how you ask the question will also provide the tone of the answer. If you're polite, it's polite
And
back.
there's some mirroring going on.
Yeah, if you're a jerk, it's going to give you some jerky answers.
Ooh, I didn't realize that. Oh,
the tone's important.
Leave the snarkiness off of AI because you're just going to get it back.
Please and thank you. It loves please and thank you, even though it does not understand what those words mean.
Oh my. Okay. So as you went through this, right? What I want to also focus in on is pretend I have never written a prompt before. What is the first thing and what is the gold standard to ensure that I'm going to get back clean results?
Okay. And I also want to reinforce that clean may not mean accurate.
Okay.
So kind of to Rachel's point, if it says that there has been a study on a thing, double check the internet, find the study, ask ChatGPT where that study is. Accuracy is not guaranteed. So check your answers. Think of this as an intern that may or may not know much about your space, about your industry, about facts, and trust but verify, shall we say?
Okay, so when I treat OpenAI, ChatGPT rather, as an intern, I use a prompt as like, say it for us. Like let's. It's actually you have one here that we're going to do. Well, actually, let's play with this first.
Yeah.
So give us a perfect way to formulate that first prompt that we're ever going to do.
So one of the top use cases I'm hearing is for job hunting, which I'm sure is pertinent to your audience.
Very appropriate.
I put in my resume and then asked it, I want to sound like a C-suite marketing and operations executive. Can you help me modify my resume to look like that? Now I've done two things. I've had it check and edit, make sure I'm not missing anything stupid in my resume, but I've also trained it. And
Mm.
then I asked, what are some of the kinds of jobs that I should be looking for? And it gives me the kinds of the kinds of companies to look for. And it gave me startups, absolutely accurate. It gave me incubators, right on, and these kinds of earlier stage companies. And then I double clicked. I said, what are the kinds of skills that they might be looking for? I had it ask based on my resume. Could you give me an email for a cold introduction to an incubator? Can you give me an email because someone from Virginia Tech is there and that's my alma mater? Give me a warmer introduction based on that. And then give me an introduction if someone from my network works there. And now I have my open letters to do coffee breaks and ask
So
questions.
you just hacked LinkedIn.
Yes, pretty much.
Are you guys listening? And just as a frame of reference, how long did that take?
Oh, I did it this morning just so it was fresh in my mind, and it took me about 10 minutes.
Okay. So this is a huge eureka moment because you can do it on LinkedIn, of course, right? But this is a different, probably way more effective and efficient way. Were they able to give you emails, phone numbers?
Well, no, but it does do research for me. It won't give me emails and numbers, but it wrote me my email that I can then copy and paste. So if it's part of my network, I probably have an email. I may be linked to them on LinkedIn, or I can then, borrow someone's Zoom info account and get, emails, phone numbers, perhaps. I've done that before. But mostly it's giving me those contacts, the email to send to those contacts. Now I can do research. It will tell me where to find information. So it would not give me a list. Remember, it's only been trained to 2021. MySpace changes very quickly. So it wouldn't give me a list like it would say, give me the top 5 telecommunications companies. Then it might give me a list. I could say, do top 5 telecommunications companies with this revenue in this area. And that could be some of my industry research. In
Mm.
this case, it tells me where to go look for, like
Mm.
Printbase, which is one of my top resources for
So
startups.
was that the prompt? Where should I go look for? Was that the prompt that you gave it?
Yes, I said, what kind of companies and how do I find them? It said, your space moves too quickly. I cannot give you a list. Remember, I'm only trained to September 2021. And then it gave me a list of places that I should monitor to find out who's getting funding. And through those lists, I can then find emails to send my cold cover letters or cold
Okay.
introduction letters to.
Well, I'm putting you on pause for a minute because the chat is so quiet. I think that people are picking up their jaw. So if you are literally listening and this is like a news flash to you and you are being wowed, just put an emoji or something in here because I don't know if you're listening or you fell off your butt. So I see one person saying, "Is this being recorded?" They were typing so fast that they missed the E. I love that. That's hilarious. And then this one's so pertinent. Courtney, I'm clearly not being inquisitive enough. So what I think you're saying, Courtney, is that you have yet to exhaust all the usages, and I don't think any of us really have been able. Yep, Regina, jaw dropping here. I like that, Regina. Jim, I'm too busy taking notes. Oh, this is awesome. Good for you.
So,
This is
so
what
let
it's
me
all about because we want you to have this intel because this is a rare opportunity. So go ahead. You were going to say something, Chris.
so let me throw another one that is probably a unique way of looking at it. I asked it, what are the difference in interview questions from an incubator versus a startup, a technology startup? And it gave me the differences in the kinds of questions to expect. But here's the kicker. I might have a question that I suck at answering at that. Like we all have the one that just trips us up, and I am no exception. So I put in, Here's the question that I have trouble with. How do I craft an answer? Now, I provide details. I provide my version of the story, which is not always flattering, make it sound better, and it helps me rewrite the narrative, not just for the interview, which is important, but it rewrites the narrative for me, and I feel better about myself because ChatGPT has helped me reframe a difficult story.
Mm. Okay, I just have to call this out. Hi, Tony. This is all true. Chris's chat GPT skills impressed me so much. We hired her. So this is proof positive that your skill set is remarkable. I encourage all of us who are in transition and throughout your career to ask yourself where on the spectrum of candidate relevancy you are. Because if you are meeting expectations, that's not going to cut it. This is what got you hired because this is an area that you are remarkable in. So I'm loving this. Awesome. Good score, Tony. I support your decision. This is Courtney, time to ask for a raise. Awesome. Awesome. A couple of questions that are coming up here that I don't want to miss because we're going to have you back. But this is really important because at the rate that OpenAI is going, right? The question that Melissa had, I don't want to miss this, is hell to the yeah. What do we need to be concerned about with privacy?
So always look at any of these chat systems and what their privacy policy is and check it often because it changes. It used to be that OpenAI would use our questions to train its system. Now that's not the case today. It could be the case again tomorrow. So I would not put in your company's super sensitive data. Now you can do things like formatting and process numbers. So if you had, say, a set of numbers, you can ask it, hey, help me find a pattern here. But I wouldn't say what those numbers are if it's sensitive data. But generally speaking, I wouldn't put sensitive data in there. For what I do, it's public marketing stuff. I'm doing research. I'm coming up with content.
Tony also says you're an excellent marketer. Go, girl! I'm loving it.
Oh, Tony's the best. I thanks, Tony.
So you're saying here, right, that you want to be careful about sensitive data. But I think that what Melissa is also asking is about our own privacy, right? What are the risks that could impact us?
Frankly, it's no worse than having an Alexa assistant, a Google assistant, all of these devices we have that are kind of always listening on, or the Google Maps we're allowing to track where we are. We've given up a lot of our privacy. I don't see ChatGPT. I'm not putting in anything crazy. So if any of that were public, I'm not embarrassed by any of it. But privacy is just going to continue to be a big question. And I hope we see more of the GDPR kinds of laws here in the US, because right now we sell a lot of our privacy for a discount or for an email, or we don't even know that we've disclosed the kinds of things that we do disclose today. So yes, Melissa, absolutely. I think about privacy and security all of the time. It's worth looking at, and just make sure you're taking a look at the privacy policies of any of the tools you're using, whether it be Facebook, Google, OpenAI's tool sets.
So what I want to also ask you, as somebody who is not only a practitioner of this technology, but also is very much at the forefront of how it will lead going forward, what does this mean? Now, the first question is how nervous people are about holding on to their roles, right? How threatening, non-threatening. I just want to put this out there because the way that you answered this is very important. And then the second piece of this is how should we all be upskilling and making sure that we are not falling behind with our market relevancy, no matter where we are in our career right now, to embrace this technology.
Well, the first way I think about it is similar to how I thought about the internet when the World Wide Web became a thing for us, is that those of us, the AI is not going to replace us. It's going to replace people that aren't using AI. So in my case, I'm in marketing. I'm a marketer that is using AI. It is making me faster, right? It's accelerating, it's improving, it's helping me find gaps. But a lot of it is speed. I mean, startup speed is super, super important.
So will you just say that one more time? Because I think that there's a very important distinction. What you just said, because I want to make sure that I heard it
Yeah.
right.
So AI is not going to replace us. People using AI will replace people who are not using AI.
Right. So that means if you don't want to be replaced, learn how to use this.
Exactly.
Learn how to use this. This is another area of job security. It's another area of differentiation. And it is certainly another way to move through the spectrum of relevancy, right? You don't learn this, somebody else is, somebody else will. So really important.
Yeah,
That's the first point.
think of it as a tool. It is another tool in all of our toolkits, right? We wouldn't not use the internet, right? We all
Mhm.
use the internet to do our research. These kinds of chatbots, they're helping us do our research faster. It is helping us write content. How often have we tried to write an email? Like maybe we have something, we feel like being really snarky to our boss because our boss asked a stupid question. Not Tony. Tony hasn't done that yet. But we have a question or something. It's like, oh my God, really? And I will actually type in the answer into ChatGPT sometimes when I'm feeling a little snarky and say, make me sound more collaborative. Actually, I do it
Mm,
for my husband sometimes, and he's probably listening to you laughing at me, but it helps. It helps us reframe, and it's not going to replace us. We never would have given that to someone else to do for us, right?
right.
It just helps us be better. It's a tool.
Okay, so the next piece is how do we become proficient? How do we use this? I mean, I think the most obvious thing is practice, but more so than that, where do we go? I mean, it's like I'm not going to sign up to be a prompt engineer. Like that's just not going to happen. But I need enough information, as do my clients and as do my colleagues, to be dangerous with this, to be able to use this as seamlessly as some of the other technology advents that we've been talking about. So where do we go and what do we do?
Well, it's so new. There's not really a lot of classes. Although those that use Salesforce, I noticed there is a Chat GPT Salesforce class on Udemy. So there
Mhm.
are some things starting to show up in LinkedIn. There are some things on Udemy that are starting to show up. I would read some articles. Most of it really is testing. And if you think in terms of training first and then asking, um, play with it. Like I was up all night the first night I discovered OpenAI's ChatGPT, and I was testing its boundaries. I tested it on HTML. I tested it on
Of
other
course
languages.
you were. I was sleeping.
Now, how do you sleep when this is out there in the world? It's amazing.
That's why
But
I love you, is because you did the hard work for us.
so test it and see if it's giving you the answers that you like. And if you don't like it, delete that one and try it again. So some of my chat prompters that are out there that I've talked with, they've kept Excel files of the prompts that work and the order. The order that you ask is important. And so we're starting to be more intentional about it and trying to make it so that it's repeatable for those tasks that are repeatable tasks. And so
Mm,
keeping notes on some of that can be really helpful. But,
yes.
but practice.
So there's got to be, that was my question, right? My initial question is, like, where do you put all these um, kind of like gold threads? Because each one of these in and of themselves is like a powerhouse. Where do you save them, store them? Let's just pretend for a minute that that whole left-hand panel that is holding on to that information, where do you put that so that it's easily accessible? Are you really sending me, it seems like such an oxymoron. You're going to use the most like innovative tool with this dinosaur of Excel. Is that really like what we're doing?
So I actually started doing that because one of my other ChatGPT friends, who's actually smarter than me, you should have him on at some point. But he was being methodical, and he started creating prompt questions so that he can have it auto create his prompts. He has certain tasks that are so repeatable, and so I've started doing that with email because I'm in marketing. So I am one of those marketers that will periodically send emails to a database. And so now I've got the who am I sending it to? So I have my tone. Tone's really important to everybody. Make sure you give it a voice. Say, I want this email in this voice. So I have tone, I have the audience, if they're technical, if they're executive, etc. And then I have kind of the meat of some of what I want. And it produces the prompt that I want that I can now put into ChatGPT.
Oh my God. I'm already ready to like tell Tony to talk to the hand. I'm like ready to hire you right now. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So this gentleman has been able to tell the prompt to create more prompts.
Yeah. Yeah. And if Daniel's out there, hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Wow. Wow. So
I
your
stole that
best
from you.
advice for now is until somebody, so opportunity, until somebody creates a way for you to catalog and be able to keep this stuff, go old school. Just keep a running list of the prompts, and from there, somebody's saying some of the AI companies do training almost weekly. Feel free, Carol, to put that in. I use copy.ai, and they have had weekly trainings. Another amazing tool is Zapier, and now with ChatGPT, it creates things automatically. Great tip, Oz.
Yeah,
my head is just like, I almost want to. I'm not going to, but quit my day job because there's so much here to explore and experiment with. And so, what are your guidelines for people who clearly do not have the aptitude that you do? How do we do this and do it without judging, beating ourselves up, and do it so that we are scaling our learning?
It's really good to remember it's new technology, right? None of us have the answers. Some of us are a little more excitable and are playing a little bit more with it than others. Very guilty there, but it's about playing with it. It's about starting with high level questions and training. So, here's my resume. Help me out here in certain ways. It's about being specific. What is it that you want? Remember, it doesn't understand us. Like Lauren, I can ask you a question. You can pull more questions out of me to get to real understanding. ChatGPT can't do that. Treat it kind of like an intern or a kid, and be very specific about what you want, from tone to the detail to number of characters that you need it to be. And it'll do a great job giving you a baseline, and just keep experimenting with it.
I'm going to ask, and you can say no, but I am going to ask on behalf of this audience, would you perhaps be willing to share some of the prompts that you used for your last job search so that we can literally steal them, aside from all this amazing information that you've put out here? Because I'm sure that people will not just lift their jaw up, they will probably be doing backflips. And we want to make this easier because you already have the things that are working, which will save all of us time in our search to be able to use what has already been successful.
Absolutely. So I wrote it down because I knew the prompts are probably the hardest part of this. So the first is I copied my resume content, and I asked it to help make me sound more of an executive, or add additional bullets. I asked it to look at my last job and tweak some things so that I sounded, again, more executive-y. I asked, what kind of companies should I pursue? Because I wanted to make sure that my resume was aligned with the kinds of companies I think that I want. And it did. That's where it came up with incubators and startups, which is perfect. I asked, how do I identify similar companies? Because some of my market is hidden. So how do I identify other companies that I don't know about today? Based on my resume, write me some introductions. Write me a cold introduction to an incubator. Write me a warm introduction because someone from my college works there. And write me an introduction because someone in my network is networked there. And now I've got my opening questions, my opening emails. I asked about some interview questions. And then I asked, what are the differences between incubators and startups that I should expect in the interview process? for the one that's hard for me, I said, here's how I like to answer this, but I know it's not good. Can you help me sound more collaborative and more like an executive in this story? And it
Mm.
rewrote that for me. I asked, is there an answer to the, here's an answer to the question. Yeah. Can you add these elements, right? So giving it more detail so it can tell a better story in my voice. And then I asked, are there any elements that I am missing within my resume? I ask it elements of what I'm missing in my answers.
Wow.
Tony had me write a written essay as part of my job interview. I put those questions in, but then gave details around the answers that I wanted to give, and it blew it out. And then I would ask to expand on certain elements so that it had my voice. And so Tony probably didn't know that ChatGPT wrote a lot of my written part of my interview process.
And all this to say that, yes, you relied heavily on it, but you did not just take everything out of the box.
Correct.
You have to be able to discern, where you need to come in, and also where it is that you can just extract the data. And
Right.
yes, for everyone, every Wednesday, we always are recording. We would never leave you hanging. There's always a team replay too. So don't worry about that. Yes. And this will also be available on YouTube. So you want to be able to share this so everyone else can get this amazing intel.
Yeah.
Oh
And for
my.
that interview, it took me an hour maybe to write that interview out. Whereas I hope it took my competitors probably a day to write it all out to give full answers. Or maybe they didn't give full answers. I don't know. I haven't gotten to see that part yet. But it really accelerated. Like what would have taken me a day to write the 13 pages that I wrote, it took me more like an hour.
So Tony didn't know. That's good. That's good. Wow. Girl stumbles into LinkedIn Live. Girl's mind blown. The portfolio rocket community never disappoints. Thank you so much, Courtney.
That's kind. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Like we're gonna have to have like Chat GPT 2 in a little while, because with the rate that this thing is blowing up, we have got to keep you close by. You are absolutely a gift to all of us. Thank you so much for being willing and generous in helping so many people today. And a special thanks from me to you for playing with me and being such a good gamer.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope it was helpful for folks.
Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. You're the best. So we're going to sign off. We'll see you. Actually, we won't see you next week because I'm going to be on vacation. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, check out my podcast, Career Blast and a Half. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Hang tight.